I
So,
thought you were going to say you picked it up and ate it. I thought that was coming.
how
And
dare you
I
think I'm that much of a
was
monster?
going to be shocked because you
I'm
would
shocked
never
that you
do
think
that.
No, that's disgusting.
like,
Why would I ever
I
do
thought
that?
that's where you were going because you were like, this place was so clean that I dropped my popcorn and I was like, you're going to pick it up and eat it? But now I get it.
It was not that clean.
I don't think anything is.
Hey everybody, welcome to A Grade, the podcast where a college professor and a middle school teacher taste, review, and grade America's best coffee roasters, craft breweries, and more. We have new episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m. My name is Joe, and I am joined, as always, of course, by...
Hi everybody, I'm Jackie.
And I guess I want to dive right into this episode because I feel as if we don't talk about what we normally experience while we're experiencing it at these places we review, but I kind of got the sense that you have a lot to say about this place that we were at today, and we actually just got back from visiting. So rather than our normal spiel at the beginning of the episode, do you want to just dive right in?
Let's jump right in.
Okay, so if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Our grading rubric will become apparent as we go through it. And if you're a returning listener, you know what nonsense is to come. So you've clearly come back for more, and we have more of that for you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this week, we did a midweek visit to a very local brewery for us, a brewery called Po Boy Brewing in
Port Jefferson Station, New York. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A very local vibe for us. It's very close and it's been on our radar for a little while. And we decided while we're both teachers in a busy season of teaching that we'd try a local spot. And I do not think it disappointed. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so let's back up just for a moment in terms of, I guess, kind of why we chose this place, because I think this place has been around for almost a decade now, and I remember I've actually visited it a couple times before, but I don't think I've been here in at least maybe 5 years now. It's been quite some time, and basically, I mean, it's probably one of the closest breweries to where we live. I mean, there's not a ton around us in terms of maybe like very close distance. There's plenty if you are willing to go half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour away. But in terms of neighborhood, local vibes, just 5-10 minutes down the road, there's very limited options for us. So it's been on my radar. And honestly, one of the reasons why I haven't been back was because when I originally went years and years ago, I don't remember being blown away. I don't remember really much standing out. I remember it was a very small location. There was some pretty good beer. There was nothing, again, that kind of knocked my socks off. It was just a very average experience. But interestingly enough, I've heard a lot of hype around this brewery from people I know who are into craft beer, who live in the area.
And it has won some local awards with newspapers locally naming it the best brewery of the year and a couple of other 2019.
Yeah.
So there has been some hype. And I actually have been asked a couple times, have you gone to Po Boy yet? Have you gone to Po Boy yet? Knowing kind of where we live.
Is it Po Boy Brewery or Po Boy Brewing Company? We should figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the episode title, whatever it is. So,
we want to make sure we get it right. So let's just call it Po Boy for now, and we'll add it to our episode description.
I mean, it's such a unique name, Po Boy, right?
Yes.
Which I think we looked up. It has something to do with Louisiana sandwiches or something.
And now, yes, this will become apparent jumping into atmosphere and ambiance a little bit. Absolutely, the theme matches the name because there is a clear Louisiana Bayou theme at this brewery, which I really dug. I thought it was awesome. But before we even talk about that, you could continue going with your experience so far and basically how the brewery has changed since the last time you've been there.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I think and we say this all the time, that we don't necessarily go to places or really give much credence to Google reviews or Yelp or anything like that. But it has, I think, a pretty outrageous Google reviews rating. I think it's something like 4.8 stars out of 5, which is, again, that's usually at best a correlation between how good a place actually is. But that's one of the higher ones you'll find, I feel like, especially for a place that's been around so long and has had maybe so many different vibes over the years. And that's not what I associated with it in my memory. I never would think that it's a 5 out of 5 star place. But that's, again, why I really wanted to go back. And as I was saying earlier, I have friends who are really into craft beer who they've either been there recently or they've heard through the beer vine that, yeah, this is a place you got to go to. So we decided, as you were saying at the beginning, that busy time of the year, back at school, let's find a place local that we've been meaning to go to and check out. And so there we were this afternoon, and we chose a midweek vibe right when they opened. I kind of like that more and more because I feel as if we get a real sense of how a place operates when it's not too crowded. I mean, there's always benefits and negatives when a place is quieter versus when it's more crowded, but we definitely went at one of the slower times, I guess, right? And I think that was definitely good because I really felt like I had a chance to intuit everything that was going on, as you were talking about with the theme and vibe and everything, right?
And there was so much to see in this brewery and look at that I think if it was really crowded, I probably would have missed some things. So I'm glad we went at the time we went when it was less crowded.
Yeah, so first grading rubric category that we do, atmosphere and ambiance, right? We have 4 grading rubric categories, and this first one, I'm curious about your first impressions pulling up to the place. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when you pull up to the place, I cannot believe that there is a brewery in this location. You go off a main road, onto a side road, into a complex with a dentist office, physical therapy,
a kid gymnasium or something.
Just random things. And then one small spot in this complex is Po Boy Brewing.
Yeah, and you could easily miss it.
Easily miss it. There's a little sign that says open that's flashing, and that's it. However, when you walk in, the place, I was shocked. It is so much bigger than you would expect from the outside.
Yeah.
You walk in, and the first thing that you see in front of you is a bar. But the bar is different than any other bar that we've ever seen because the bar is shaped like an outdoor deck. Again, in the southern Louisiana bayou, the writing is kind of looks like handwritten and scratched, and it says Po Boy on it. And there's overhangs where you feel like you're outside, but you're inside. Mm-hmm. Can I keep going a little?
Oh, keep rolling.
I'm going to just riff right now.
That's what I was saying. I want to get started right away because there's so many vibes going on here. Yeah.
So there are vines and fake plants all over the ceiling, all down the walls, all around. There are fake dead animal heads on the walls with labels, funny labels underneath them.
Well, like hunting animals, bears, deer, alligators, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. There are paintings, all the walls. It's either wallpaper or paintings of trees in southern swampy bayou trees. And all the tables look like wood, but they're actually metal. On the bar, the handles for all of the taps are wood, and you feel like you're outside. When you kind of look towards the back, there's a second bar, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but that also, it's set up like a full outdoor bar inside. Mm-hmm. There's a fireplace in the back, way in the back, kind of roped off at this point because it wasn't very crowded. So they kind of keep everybody towards the front.
Well, I think he was saying that they do events back there too, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, the theme kind of shown through the whole time that you're there.
Yeah. I really liked the tree wallpaper too. Because it wasn't as if there was just tree wallpaper. There were other touches of that kind of wood, swampy, foresty theme with the animal heads, like hunter heads, and the overhanging for the bar. It kind of felt, as you said, like an outdoor deck type vibe.
And they really hit the southern theme. There's lots of different forests. So if you're listening, you can kind of picture, we were in Washington State this summer, and that's a certain type of forest.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah.
Not that.
Yes,
they nailed
that's a great point.
The southern bayou, wet, swampy forest.
And I hate to say this, and this is unofficial off the record, but I may or may not actually have been born in Florida and escaped, but they nailed it. Like that, as you were saying, that sort of swampy, foresty vibe. A lot of people, they think the South and they just think swamps, but there's tons of forests too.
It was,
And it really, again, you got that sense of that was sort of the environment, and it was totally not what I expected. It was really kind of shocking, but really cool for that reason too, I feel like.
I think this was more transformative than any place that we've been where you feel like you're walking into an environment.
So I had a funny point.
And I thought that was so interesting.
That immediately jumped to mind when we got there and I looked around for a few minutes. It reminded me of another place we've visited on the podcast, but a much kind of more, I guess, fully executed version of that vibe. Do you know which place I'm thinking of?
I know what you're going to say now. Two-Way.
Two-Way Brewing.
It was if Two-Way had done things right.
All right. I didn't say that. I tried to be politically correct, and then you said that. But yeah, essentially, that's what I meant.
If you've been following us for a little while, unfortunately, Two-Way did not get one of our higher grades, but this was different. Totally, I thought that the theme was implemented in a way that was not gimmicky, and they did a really good job.
Well, and that's what we were actually talking about on that episode a lot of that brewery, where it felt as if they were trying to do this kind of woodsy hiker forest theme, but it was so kind of clashing with other elements of just, giant TVs with football on and kids' toys in the corner. It just felt very disjointed, and there were other issues that we had maybe, but R.I.P. my umbrella that I'm still convinced they stole. But anyway,
also they had puddles on the floor. So
yeah, but
we
were
in the swamp here in at Po Boy, and there were no puddles, and I was very happy about that.
That's true. That's true. We had the swamp vibe, yet no puddles, which was quite impressive. But that's what I mean. It was a much more sort of clean, consistent, clear vibe, and I really enjoyed that about this place. And interestingly enough, when we talk about atmosphere and ambiance and vibe, we usually introduce the bathroom corner segment of the podcast as sort of a tertiary part where we value a nice, interesting, clean bathroom. But here it was actually, I think, quite pivotal. Because can I start talking about the bathroom?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I also, before you even talk about it, I went to the bathroom first before Joe or Tommy, our moderator who came with us this time again. And I could not wait for you to get in the bathroom because I was like, you're going to love this.
Yeah, well, the reason why I said what I said earlier about the bathroom actually being important, essentially, is because I really do feel as if it clarified the question that I had going into this brewery. And as we sat there, which was, what exactly is a po' boy and why is that the name of the brewery? Like, I knew from just Googling it, it had something to do with Louisiana sandwiches or something. I still don't quite know or care, really, honestly. But in the bathroom, they had what I always say I want in a bathroom when there's just bare, plain, boring walls. Put some art, put some pictures of yourself and your business and your history. Put some story about your history. And that's exactly what they had. They had this beautiful sort of little plaque type thing with a description of how they came up with the name Po Boy. I don't know if I want to go through the whole story because I guess that's kind of enticing. Maybe you should go visit, use the bathroom, and read for yourself. But
it's worth it. It's a really good story.
It's a really good story, and it's kind of funny, and it sort of makes a lot of sense. But I love that you had to go to the bathroom to find out that answer. It wasn't like it was on the wall right when you walked in. It was a nice little Easter egg nugget when you use the bathroom, and I love that. I thought that was such a cool little touch.
I did take a picture of it, so it will be up for all of our Patreon subscribers to see.
And how do you subscribe to Patreon? Well, now we can plug it.
Yes. If you go to our Instagram, there's a link in our bio for that. That's probably the easiest way to find it. Or you can go to patreon.com/
you don't know
A
this
Grade Podcast.
Patreon.com/A Grade Podcast. There's a link in the episode description wherever you're listening to this.
And you could get pictures of the bathroom. I did take a lot because there was a lot to see.
Well, again, if you go and you subscribe and you listen to our future episodes or you go back and listen to previous episodes, we do appreciate a bathroom that's utilizing a space.
The other cool thing about the bathroom was from outside, it had a picture of a star and the moon. And it said outhouse.
It fit into the theme.
Right into the wallpaper and the trees, and walking into the bathroom was just as much of an experience and as the rest of the experience there. And I loved it. They nailed it. They also had lotion, Purell, hairspray, extra toilet paper.
They had mouthwash.
Mouthwash.
With little cups. I have never seen that in a bathroom.
And I was explaining to Joe that this happens in women's bathrooms all the time. Well, a lot of places have special little things for women. And it's the first time on the podcast that I've seen the toiletries in the bathroom like this. And that was a nice touch.
I was saying we're lucky if we get soap and running water, and you guys have mouthwash and couches and stuff.
The secret's out.
Yeah, well, I was kind of blown away by all of that, long story short. The one critique that you had, or that you kind of couldn't help but mentioning, was that there were no paper towels. But honestly, I and I know what you mean. It's like it would be so easy to just have a shelf right there, install a shelf with some paper towels, but everything else was so impressive to me. I kind of don't even mind, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't use paper towels in a bathroom anyways. I just dry my hands on my pants.
And I like to use them to open the door, so I'm using them for the knob. But
yeah. But like you said, there was Purell.
There was a lot of everything else. It was very clean.
Yeah. I actually would say that there's a new category I've just decided, because you know how we say sometimes when we grade a place that, oh, this is a destination coffee roaster, or this is a destination brewery. I think we need another category for destination bathrooms, and this may be a destination bathroom.
This may be a destination bathroom.
It's definitely up there. I mean, the best, if you go back and you listen to the A Grady Awards at the end of last year, there is a best bathroom category for an award, and so far in 2022, we've only done a few episodes, but I'm willing to say that this is my nominee so far. I know it's still early in the year, but I was very impressed.
Po Boy, there is some nominations coming your way, I'm sure, for Best Bathroom.
So moving on to other aspects of what we thought of your place.
Now, I have to say, there was something very funny and weird that threw me off a little.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, for atmosphere and ambiance, was that there were still New Year's celebration decorations up everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure it really impacted my experience, but we are about 2 weeks after the new year. And I don't know, everybody out there, how long should you keep up New Year's decorations?
It sounds
Christmas trees,
it
things
sounds like
that.
a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where he's like, oh, you can't wish Happy New Year this long after New Year's. I
don't know if Larry David would be very happy with the New Year's decorations.
Oh, Larry David would be furious.
He would be furious.
Yeah.
And also, I felt like their theme and their vibe was so strong that the New Year's stuff was slightly distracting. But it didn't really impact my comfort level or anything like that. It didn't feel messy. It was fine.
It was a very clean place. In fact, it was so clean that I dropped, we'll talk about the food, obviously, at the end. That's our last grading category. But I dropped a piece of popcorn on the floor at one point, and I picked it up because I felt bad. Because it was so clean, and I didn't want to be that guy making a mess in such a nice space.
I thought you were going to say you picked it up and ate it. I thought that was coming.
How dare you think I'm that much of a monster?
I'm going to be shocked because you
I'm shocked that you think that. No, that's disgusting. Why would I ever do that?
I thought that's where you were going because you were like, this place was so clean that I dropped my popcorn. And I was like, you're going to pick it up and eat it? But now I get it.
It was not that clean.
I don't think anything is.
No, that's the point.
Yeah. So do you think the 3-second rule is a lie or the 5-second rule is a lie?
I don't think it's a lie. I think the 5-second rule is more a very vague piece of guidance. Because if you drop a piece of popcorn in a pile of shit, there's no number applies. Right? Like if you're walking around,
right?
If you're walking around and you drop a piece of popcorn in some dog poop, I don't care how many seconds that is. You don't pick it up.
But the rule is a rule.
That's why it's not a rule. Or that's why it's not a good rule.
On science.
Okay, anyways, I'm just going to move on from this conversation.
We need a fact checker for this podcast.
Apparently.
The other couple of takeaways that I had with atmosphere and ambiance, last thoughts, were music was great. At one point, the beer tender changed the music because an Adele song came on and he was like, I'm not feeling this. Is everybody okay with me changing this?
And he was 100% right.
And
it just wasn't.
I was like, hey, I like Adele. But then he put on some really good classic rock.
He put on the Guitar Hero playlist.
Basically. Yeah. And it was so much more fitting of the atmosphere there.
It was, yeah.
It was really loud, which I kind of liked in a bar.
I thought it was very fitting.
It was
the music,
it was really great. And immediately when he put on the new playlist, it was even better. And I loved that he did that. And those are my closing thoughts.
Yeah, they also had, I just want to mention as well, I thought, again, when I went originally, it was maybe a third the size. He told us, because I asked him, that they bought the, I guess, unit or whatever next door, knocked down the wall, I guess, and expanded it. So it's like at least twice as big, if not 3 times as big. It's a much bigger space now. And it's cool because I like when it doesn't look like that from the outside. I feel kind of secrety.
Kind of felt a little speakeasy.
Yeah, a little speakeasy vibes.
I'm telling you, it felt, I don't know if transformative is the right word, but it felt like you were going from one environment into this other world. It felt
100%,
they had created this escape from reality or something.
Yeah, 100%.
We're coming on a Wednesday. I had a really long day at work, and I'm walking in on a cold January night, and you feel like you were literally transformed or moved and into the southern bayou.
I totally forgot, as you said, that there's snow and ice outside, and it's January.
We're not in the humid.
Yeah.
It was just such a great.
When I was there, yeah.
You know, now that I'm talking about it after the fact, I really like it even more than I did sitting there.
Yeah,
they
had the kind of plants and like swamp ivy, and everything just came together so nice. They also, again, as I was saying before, with the space, they had tables that you could sit at, but they also had bar seats along this wall with a little ledge, so you could put beer, so you could fit a lot more people there. Really,
and bar games.
Yeah,
there were games.
Yeah, really
cards. Yeah,
nice usage of the space. I thought. Again, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes we go to places and we're kind of just wondering, why did they decide this in terms of the layout with the seating and everything. But and it kind of confirms to me that we're onto something when we feel that way, because when we see a place where it does make sense, we agree. We say, oh, they've executed this perfectly or optimally or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much everything for atmosphere and ambiance. Do you have any other thoughts? Or are you ready for letter grade for this category?
I'm ready for a letter grade. I really liked it.
Okay. What do you think?
I'm between 2, but looking back and thinking about how much fun I had there and how much I want to go back, I'm going to go with an A-.
Interesting. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Lo and behold, I thought, again, I mean, very minor further touches, maybe some paper towels, like we said. But I was so comfortable there. I thought it was so unique. I'm gonna go A- as well.
Good. I'm really glad.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty much outstanding.
Definitely
I was
in the
really
A
happy.
range. Yeah.
I was really happy there.
Especially when you read that story. Go read the Po Boy story.
Great. It was really cool.
So good. All came together.
Yeah. Which leads us to our second grading rubric category, which is, of course, service.
Will you start us off here?
Sure. So, these categories are so interesting because I do feel as if sometimes it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes I really got to delve further. Honestly, I thought it was a pretty outstanding service experience. The bartender, beer tender, server, he was kind of a server of all trades, I felt like. Tim, he was super fantastic, super engaging, very friendly, very polite, very knowledgeable. I felt very comfortable asking him all sorts of questions about the place, about the beer, about his suggestions or recommendations. He also knew very well when to, because we wound up getting a table a little bit away from the bar, when to come over to see if we needed anything brought away or if we wanted anything else. And we talk about that all the time, how sometimes servers, they, again, maybe they're not interested in doing that, or they're busy with other stuff, obviously, or whatever the case might be, right? You just don't get that same level of experience or engagement. But I thought that was so on point at all those levels. So I was really impressed by all of that. But I'm curious what you think, if you agree or disagree.
I was really impressed. I was super comfortable talking to him the whole time. He was one of the only employees working the crowd, serving the beers and serving the food. He was efficient. He was quick. We didn't wait for anything. When we first came in, he gave us our options for flights. We were able to try everything. And he even gave us a little extra to try towards the end, which I thought was great. He knew about the beers. He seemed to really like the beers and really gave praise to the brewer and how often they change the taps. We had a lot of conversation with him. I thought it was a really good service experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how I've had some interesting service experiences lately. I was at CVS the other day, for example, and the person who was helping me, because I needed a passport photo taken, was just so, I hate to say this, but just such a downer. And I understand, like, I've worked retail for many years, and I get the vibe. It's such a difficult environment these days to work a lot of these jobs in service or retail or whatever, that I sort of, I look at it even more differently than I did thinking back to my own experiences. And so when you get people who are willing to be engaged and who really do enjoy being at a place, it stands out. I guess it just stands out to me all the more so. And that was another thing I really appreciated, was that even at breweries where the service is sometimes really good, you'll get a beer tender who kind of has his regulars at the bar, and he kind of will come over and they'll deal with you tertiarily because they want to get back to their friends at the bar, right? And he definitely had, I think, what seemed to me like locals at the bar, but I felt just as sort of valued as a new customer, which is, again, I feel super rare. And it was very, I don't know, I just really liked that and appreciated it. I feel as if that's not something that, as I was saying, you always get. And I was really happy for that reason. I thought that was a really fantastic job on his part, too.
I couldn't agree more. It was definitely above average service.
Well. Do you have anything else to say about the service category?
I think that's it.
Well, I will say as well, I really liked the pacing of the food when it came out. The pacing of, as I said, when he would come and get empty drinks versus provide new ones. So I think I know my service grade. Do you?
Me too.
All right. Do you want me to go?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm just feeling generous. New year, new me. But I'm going to go A for service. I thought it was outstanding. I thought he not only did everything that I expect a beer tender to do, but he exceeded it, and he was genuinely really happy and willing to do so. And he definitely, we always say this is a reflection of the establishment and of the management and of the brewers and of everybody else there. And I think it's also cool too that we went when it was quiet, because that's also really telling. We've been to places where, whether it's busy or quiet, you can really learn a lot about the culture by how you're treated. And especially when it's quiet, that's slightly in a different way. But I thought it's sometimes really interesting to see. I mean, we've been to places where it's quiet, and so they're just behind the counter or whatever on their cell phones. That was not the situation here. So
I'm very sorry because, not that I'm going to give a bad grade, but you're probably going to have to add fireworks, because I also think it was A grade service.
Oh, okay. Jeez. I thought you were going to say C. It was fine.
Seen your face. Yes, you do have to add fireworks. I thought this was A grade service.
Oh, yeah. Why do I have to edit all of this? We need a meeting. All right. Well, you're hearing the fireworks.
You're
now,
getting
sure.
You're getting a bad service grade right now.
If I put in the fireworks, I better get an A grade service grade.
What time?
We always put in fireworks when we both give an A grade, which is quite rare.
Very rare. I
Yeah.
don't. This is our first A grade in a category this year, I think.
Yeah, and probably in maybe quite some time.
Since maybe
Yeah.
the Southdown episode. Yeah.
So that's very probably Southdown. That's true. Last year.
What
Yeah.
time are we at?
We are at 28 minutes. Thank you for the cue, so my editing goes a little smoother. But that leads us to the all-important category of beer. Why don't you get started with that one? I'm very curious what you think about the beer.
So I'll start off by saying that I really appreciated and loved that we were able to try everything. Very few places have flights built into their menu where you can try every single beer. And Po Boy did. So that right there, already above average for me. When there are flights, when I can try them all. Now, Po Boy had a very unique menu because you can try pretty much everything. This is the first brewery that we've been to that they even had ciders, which some, I guess, would say is not necessarily a beer, but it was the first time that we've been to a brewery that had ciders to offer. They had everything. They had... not everything, but a lot of stuff.
They had a fair, diverse spread
Of different types of beers. By far, the best, I think we all agreed, were the ciders. I thought the ciders were phenomenal. They weren't super sweet. They were very, very well balanced. My favorite one, which we'll probably talk about, was the apple.
Well, you're talking about it now.
Yes, was the apple.
Was it an apple pie cider? Yeah.
It was just so well balanced. The away from the ciders, I really liked the pumpkin. I really liked the Pilsner. I really liked a lot of the beers. The only ones that I did say wow on were the ciders. There was a mango cider and the apple pie cider that I thought were wow beers. So I thought the ciders I would put in the B+ range, and the rest of the beers I would put in the B range. And those are my kind of overall thoughts, but I think you're more of a beer expert than me. So I'm curious what your thoughts were.
I like that title, beer expert.
You are the beer expert.
That's not accurate.
More than
comparatively,
me.
Okay.
Yeah, comparatively, I am more of a
That's just a
novice
fancy
in
way
beer.
of saying I've drank more than you. That's
And for a little behind the scenes, I am attempting a dry January, which is very funny considering we do a beer and coffee podcast.
well, that's for business.
But
Yeah.
I did take one sip only. So I was kind of doing our version of the one bite pizza reviews.
That's
right?
not what he does, though.
He eats the whole
damn
slice.
thing.
But
Yeah.
I did one sip review. So I did only have one sip
right.
of every single beer that they had offered. Unfortunately, we could not try the sours. I had one sip of each, and the ciders were standout, and I thought the beers were a little bit above average.
Yeah,
that was range.
That was kind of interesting. They have this weird setup where you can get the sours on Friday and Saturday nights. They call it Sour Patch. And he said, because I was kind of surprised by that setup, and he said that they make them all in-house. None of them are collaborations with other breweries, or they don't get kegs from other places. They're all sours that they make. So I was surprised that they only serve them on Fridays and Saturdays. So it seemed like very exclusive, very hype, and that kind of got me. I might have to go back and try them for that reason.
Definitely.
But yeah, I kind of agree in general with what you say. I thought the beers, if I were going to give the beers an overall letter grade, I would probably say B for the beers, and I would say A- for the ciders. I thought the ciders were outstanding. I thought they were really great. The apple pie cider was a solid A grade cider. The mango, there was a mango cider, was a solid A grade cider. The other two, I was like, yeah, they're pretty good. And then again, the beers, there was a few standouts to me. I really liked that one IPA. I forget the name off the top of my head because there were a couple, but they were all really balanced. They all had a lot of character. They all had a lot of originality to them. There wasn't as much sort of. So it's interesting because there are certain breweries that lean into one style. When we went to Other Half or Tilted Barn, those places are IPA breweries. They do Indian Pale Ales. If you go to Hudson Valley Brewing, they do sour beers. This, they sort of had a lot of different things going on. You could get a Pilsner, you could get an IPA, you could get a stout. Great Notion, that's another one. Pretty much stouts that they do. So when a brewery does a bunch of different styles, I kind of like them to do a lot of them. And so that's something that I feel as if I were going to give an A grade, I would need some of these other styles that I really love, like Kolsch's or Helles beers, Hefeweizens, like some of these other ones that you do see at a lot of breweries where they're doing a lot of different types of beers. However, having said that, I was pretty impressed with a lot of them. So I think I know my beer grade overall. Do you have any other thoughts, though?
Yeah, before you share.
Oh, no. What is this tone?
I wasn't going to even bring it up, but I have to.
Oh, no.
There were two that were really rough to drink and are a little bit stuck in my brain. And
are you
I
talking?
think it's
wait,
just
wait.
my palate.
Are you talking about the Robitussin Sours, as you call them?
Yes.
Or they weren't sours. I'm sorry. They were stouts.
I think they were stouts. There were two stouts.
I think one was a porter and one was a stout that you didn't like.
One of them in my brain tasted just like cough syrup, and I'm just really curious if there are people out there that like that flavor. It could just not be my style, but I took a sip and felt like I was sick and I was a kid all over again when my parents would make me drink that cough syrup.
That 12% alcohol by volume cough syrup.
I was like, this is probably better than drinking cough syrup. It'll put me right to
sounds
sleep.
like a television ad from the 1950s. 12% Robitussin. It'll get you knocked out for the night.
But I just have to say it. But the rest I thought were great. Yeah, I'll just not try those two again.
Yeah, I feel as if the stout wasn't the strongest suit, maybe. I kind of really appreciated that the stouts and the porters were trying to do different things. Like there was an elderberry porter, I think. There was a blackberry porter. Again, I didn't have that wow A-grade reaction to them. But
there was a cough syrup porter.
Jeez. But I did appreciate the originality of them. My question is how to balance that with the ciders, because that's obviously not exactly beer. But I really kind of appreciated that there was this alternative. And it wasn't, sometimes you go to a place and they'll have a cider on tap just as kind of a consolation in case you're with somebody who's not a beer drinker. So they'll have like a hard seltzer or a cider on tap. That's not what this was. Like they really know how to make great ciders, which I thought was really cool. And other breweries do it. I mean, the one I mentioned, Cigar City in Tampa, that I've been to, they actually have a cider house, I think, but they serve those ciders at their brewery too. So it's not as if it's something entirely outside of the industry, out of left field. So I think I know my overall beer grade, which again, it's kind of hard to say, trying to calculate as a overall drink grade really, but I think I know my letter grade. What about you?
I think I do as well.
Okay. You want me to go first?
It's up to you.
All right, I'm going to go B+ overall. Again, for all the reasons I said, I think you'll pretty much, if you like drinks of the alcoholic variety, you'll find something that you like there, right? Which is really cool. And you'll probably find something that you really like there, which is really cool. And also the fact that they're always rotating things out, as he said, pretty much, I think he mentioned that, right? Every week there's maybe something that you might like and you come back next week and it's not there because they're rotating something else in, which is actually a good thing at a brewery. I think that originality and sort of new vibe, but I think that's a solid overall letter grade for me.
I agree with your grade, but my gut is going to bring me with a B overall for the beer. I really enjoyed the ciders. I liked the beers. I didn't find a beer that blew me away. I had a couple that I actually really didn't like we talked about. But overall, if I went back, I would 100% drink the Pilsner, 100% drink the ciders, would really actually want to try the sour beers because I think they would be really good.
Yeah.
And I could see myself going up to the B+ if I have some of those sours and really like them.
Yeah, again, I think that's why the atmosphere and ambiance and service are also so high in terms of the grading. There's a lot of minor elements that overlap here, and the fact that like you can go back and have a much different experience, I think speaks to that too. Again, it's really cool to think, I mean, from my perspective, even I would say the beer or drink experience is a B+ baseline for me, which is a fantastic grade for that reason, right? Because we might go back, my point being, we might go back next week and they have some other beers available, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, this is A grade, A range or something like that, right? Yeah.
That's why I feel about that B. Yeah. And I have in my mind from the A grades, really, the A-level beer of something like Hudson Valley or Other Half, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And that fresh, crisp coldness that I have in my brain. And I feel that Po Boy could get there, but was not quite there. The cider was. That one cider was, but not all the beers like I experienced at Hudson Valley.
Well, that might be, as we were saying earlier, from the perspective of that they are doing different types of beers and they're continually changing them too. So that's kind of exciting to me, though, in a way, as well, as we were just saying how it's definitely a draw because I kind of want to go back now in a couple of weeks and see, oh, is there something different? I'll probably go online and check their tap list and just see, ooh, what do they got going on this season or this week?
Yeah, and like we always say, in my mind, a B is a fantastic grade. C is average. B is highly above average, and I would highly recommend trying out a lot of the beers here.
Yeah, I mean, I would even, the ones I really liked, we always talk about that too, how some places, they're more like takeout vibes. There are cans of some of the beer I would get just to have around you have company over, you have a party, whatever.
That's a great point, because the atmosphere here is better than some of the places where I would say the beer is the highest level thing.
Right.
But I would much rather hang out here at Po Boy
Says
than a lot of
lot.
other places.
Says a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. Which leads us to food.
Our last category.
You want to get going?
Sure.
All right. What are your
Food
thoughts?
was very interesting.
Yeah.
I suspect that there is not a full kitchen
I suspect you're correct.
because there are options that are like appetizers. So we ordered pretty much everything. We had a flight of beer and a flight of food, which I am now
We did have a flight of food.
making an official thing. We got a flight of food. We tried everything. We tried a pretzel, their regular pretzel, and
It was a Cajun spice pretzel where they
spice pretzel.
basically put a little kind of hot spice on it.
we tried a small pizza. We tried chips and salsa, and we tried popcorn.
And I think those were the only 4 things on the menu. You could get a bunch of different types of pizza, pepperoni, meat lovers, veggie, but it was those kind of 4 versions or 4 categories.
And I think everything was made either in like a toaster oven or a microwave.
Yeah.
Or, the popcorn was actually bagged popcorn from the grocery store.
Mhm.
So with all of that being said, the fact that there's not a kitchen, I don't think that they're trying to have this crazy chef food experience. I think they're going for the bar food experience. It's a little interesting because I would have liked a little more of leaning into the theme with the food.
Yeah.
Where you're this Louisiana Bayou po' boy theme, but your food is American bar appetizers.
So what stands out to me is very interesting is I agree with all of that, with the caveat that I feel as if in some ways, if this makes sense, and I mean this in a very positive way, that this was kind of best case trash food, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because you know me, I mean, I don't eat microwave popcorn, but it was perfect for the vibe. It was a really good palate cleanser between tasting beers. Just kind of it wasn't super buttery popcorn. It was almost suspiciously specifically chosen kind of plain salty popcorn, which I actually like much more than that kind of movie theater buttery nonsense. And that would have been a disaster, I feel like, trying to drink beer with that. So I feel like they nailed that. In terms of trash microwave popcorn, it was ideal. Same thing with the pretzel. I mean, remember when we were in Seattle over the summer and we went to that dive bar and they had on the menu Bavarian pretzel and the Bavarian pretzel came out and it was
hanging.
So if you ever ordered a fancy pretzel at a place, sometimes they come on those hooks. It's like a hangman hook, right? It's a long silver hook and it's a big pretzel the size of your head or bigger sometimes. But this dive bar in Seattle, it was just a super pretzel, a microwave super pretzel hanging on this giant hook.
It looked so sad.
It looked so sad. And
it was basically Hangman. It was a dead pretzel.
We just laughed. We lost it. It was so ridiculous.
I was like, how does this waiter bring this over to us?
Or how do
would
they
you
put
not
on
be embarrassed?
How do they put on the menu Bavarian pretzel?
Put it on a plate.
And it's clearly one of those frozen super pretzels from the grocery store, right?
And it was probably like stale.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't even.
You didn't eat it.
I didn't even eat it.
I did. It was definitely stale.
I did eat the pretzel today.
Well, so my point was this actually tasted toasted, not microwaved, because it was crispy.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a best case, again, a best case super pretzel. It wasn't overly salted. It wasn't undersalted. I love how he just kind of slapped down the mustard thing on the table. He asked if we wanted mustard or cheese.
It wasn't in a container or anything. They gave us the mustard from the store.
Again, best case trash food. I really thought. Even the chips and salsa, it was
fine.
It was kind of fine. It was grocery store salsa maybe. The chips were great though. They were salty. Again, a good palate cleanser. I thought overall that all worked really well.
I agree. I just it was fine. I do think it was fine. I think it was bar food it was fine.
See, I disagree. I don't think it was just fine. I think it's so easy if you're going to serve a super pretzel to give me a trash soggy super pretzel from the microwave.
And I mean, maybe you don't necessarily want that Louisiana Southern barbecue type cooking food when you're having heavy beers. Maybe this is a better scenario. But I guess the food was my least favorite part of the experience.
Yeah, I think comparatively it was probably my least favorite part, but I still again I can't get over this fact that it was kind of it stood out to me still because
I enjoyed the pizza.
it was good fine is my point.
Yeah.
It was sort of an above average fine.
Okay.
Is how I would put it. Again, I don't think you can put it in the category of some other places we've been to with A-grade food, like a Peconic Brewing, or if we go back to our last road trip, Whistle Punk, those types of places, Hudson Valley with their pizza, obviously. But I think I know my overall food grade.
I do too.
Do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
C-.
What?
I thought everything was slightly...
What?
C is average.
Yeah.
I thought this was the tiniest bit below average.
Okay, so let me ask you if this makes sense to you. If everything I've said about the food was not with that extra sort of layer of effort, how the pretzel was actually toasted, it was just a microwave pretzel. The popcorn wasn't plain, it was over buttery. The chips and salsa, I mean, that was whatever. Or the pizza was a little bit more average. Like, to me, that would be C. That would be
So
regular bar brewery food.
If I'm grading it on the scale of bar food, bar appetizer food.
Well, it's not bar food, it's brewery food too.
But I felt like it was bar food.
Okay, interesting.
So if I were grading it on a scale of A to F, considering all other bar foods that we've ever had, I'd probably give it a B. But if I'm grading it on food in general that I've had at breweries, some of the best food I've had has been at breweries.
Yeah.
If I'm grading it from A to F, considering the food scale altogether, I'm giving it a C-. If I'm grading it with bar food and like what I have in front of me, like against any other place that would offer the same things, I'll give it a B. But I'm going to go with the overall food and give it a C-.
I'm going to go C+.
Okay. Because we're not that different.
No. I just feel as if...
Yeah, I understand.
I just feel as if everything that you're saying to me sounds like C. It sounds like satisfactory. Again, if they had, just popcorn or something, I would say, okay, that's like a D. It's still food. It doesn't fail. I can still eat and drink.
I left a little hungry, even though I was full.
Oh, we ordered burgers. We have burgers waiting.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I should have said C.
Yeah. Do you know
You just reminded me of the burgers waiting for us in the other room.
When you eat a lot of food, but you have all these calories in you, but you're not really satisfied and you're still hungry?
Fair enough.
C-.
C averages out to C. I'm willing to accept that now.
Okay, good.
Touche. Okay.
I should have just said, we have burgers waiting.
That's all you should have said.
So
yeah.
with those burgers in mind, let's get to our final
All right.
overall scores.
Yeah, read the tally. What's our final... That's not going to sound good on record.
That's why I did it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So for atmosphere and ambiance, Joe and I both gave an A-. For service, we both gave an A. Fireworks. For beer, Joe gave a B+, I gave a B. For food, Joe gave a C+, I gave a C-. We got the ABC here. A, B, C.
Interesting.
I know my grade. I'm between two.
I'm between two as well.
Are you between the same two as me?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For those of you joining us for the first time, we may or may not have developed telepathy at this point in the podcast, because I know exactly... Actually, I don't. I think I know. I had to think about it more as you were saying it, and I think you're between two different ones final grades than I am.
Could I give a funny final grade?
I don't know what that means.
I'm going to break the grading system. Never mind.
What does that mean?
So I'm going to just explain a little bit while you're thinking.
Oh, God.
The grade
I'm very nervous now.
The grade that I want to give is a B+-. I'm in between a B and a B+. So I've never felt more strongly for that in between. It's in between a B and a B+.
Jeez Louise.
B+-. But because I gave the service an A and the atmosphere and ambiance an A-, I know which one I'm going to pick.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to pick a spike grade now.
All right, you ready? B+-.
You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, A-.
B+.
Okay.
Oh!
That's what I thought you were going to do.
Oh!
That's why I went with the A minus.
Okay.
I don't know if that's why I went with the A minus.
You went with an A minus.
Yeah, I
went with a B
so
plus.
here's the
Cool.
reason. Here's the reason why.
Let's hear it.
Here's the reason why. What did we give Uber Geek as a final letter grade?
A minus.
What did you grade their food?
Radio
Do you hear the
silence.
crickets? Do you hear the crickets?
I don't remember.
There was no food.
There was no food.
Well, there was a pretzel, but I don't think we graded, or you gave it like a C or C minus as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's sort of my point, is that I think if you line the grades up, I think your grades are pretty much the same as what you gave Uber Geek, and you gave them an A minus overall. Now, granted, we loved Uber Geek because we got to meet the owner and we had a great time there. But I felt similarly comfortable as I did at Uber Geek for those reasons. I felt very welcome. Again, to me, the service really stood out. The atmosphere and ambiance really stood out. As we say, I rather go to a place that has good vibes and not A plus beer in all capacities of different types of beers you can have, than go to a place that has A plus beer, but you feel like you got to get the heck out of there. You don't feel welcome. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel like hanging out. You don't feel like returning with friends, that sort of thing. And maybe part of that too is as I said at the very beginning, when I previously went there many years ago, I wouldn't have said that it was really even in that league. And I'm very impressed by all of that for that reason. But they seem to have so much cool stuff going on there. But I think that's kind of what makes sense to me for those reasons.
Normally, I would argue. I always tend to argue over the final.
You can argue
grade,
with me. Oh, because we have to decide if we have a tiebreaker. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think you're right when you put it in comparison with other places. I think we'll 100% be back. We gave the service an A, atmosphere and ambiance A minus. The food was fine. The beer was good. I feel really comfortable with an A minus. I think this is an awesome place, and I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, and we always say this too, or maybe we've been saying it more and more, how like an A doesn't mean that you do everything perfect or the absolute best, right? It's not as if you like the one place that does the best job gets the only A, right? It's not a curved scale like that, right? We sort of base it upon our overall impressions and our overall feeling, and I think that's what's most important and sort of what it comes down to here. And I think, again, it sort of feels almost disingenuous to me for a podcast as an overall grade to say, oh, it's a B or something, because we're looking at what we would want more of as opposed to looking at what we really did actually like, right? So it's funny, too, how a lot of episodes when we're between two final letter grades for the podcast, we argue very strongly one way or the other. Sometimes you'll say, well, I think we should round down, or I say we should round down or round up for reasons that are quite legitimate, because those elements that we want more of do stand out to us more than what we did like. But I feel here, and I'm wondering if you agree, what I did like outweighed that. I mean, look no further than the bathroom example, right? There were things that we might have wanted more in the bathroom, but I still thought, I said, this is in the running for Best Bathroom of the Year award already, right? So to me, that's impressive in itself. So I would want to round up to A minus for those reasons.
And I think the reason I went with the B plus over the A minus was the food.
Yeah, and I don't think that's wrong. Yeah, I think I'm glad that you gave that grade.
And I definitely think that's something to consider when you go there, and I think everybody should go there. But overall, I agree with rounding up for our final grade, because I think back to the story on the bathroom wall, and I think that there's probably a lot of love in this brewery, and I would love to talk more to the owner about the story. And I think the employees that work there really love the place. It's a really comfortable vibe. You could stay there for a while. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, little touches count. They make a big difference. And that's why I really love the podcast and pointing them out, because they sometimes go unnoticed or overlooked. But if like us, you know to look for them, I think you want to highlight them, right?
Yeah, find that story, find that connection, that human connection behind the business.
We're not telling you why it's called Po Boy. You got to go and find out.
Go find out, or become a Patreon, because I will post a picture of it.
So patreon.com/A-grade podcast to find out more. Yeah, you can check us out there. Again, A
then
minus.
We won't be Po Boys.
That's kind of a spoiler of the story. A minus overall from A-grade podcast. Really awesome place. I'm so glad it's in our neighborhood, right? I mean, that's very kind of a relief.
Yes.
Because if we had gone there and this happens sometimes, we go to a place and we're trying to justify, how do we give it a D grade, right? As opposed to lower. And this was not the case. So very happy for that. And that we can actually share this with them probably pretty comfortably.
Yes, we cannot wait. I can't wait to hear from the owners of this business or Tim, the beer tender who helped us out.
Yeah, really awesome stuff. Thank you, everybody at Po Boy, for an awesome experience. And thank you all for listening, right?
Yeah, let us know if you have any suggestions of places that we should review over the next couple of months, the winter season. We have some really fun trips planned, hopefully, in the future.
Yeah.
Some local trips to Boston, Philly. So if you have any recommendations for those cities, let us know. And we have some really fun summer travels that we are starting to plan that we probably should not even spoil just yet.
No spoilers yet.
Let's save that for a little while. But
Yeah.
we have some really fun things planned, and we can't wait to keep giving you guys some content.
Yep. Subscribe, follow, all that jazz wherever you listen to us. And thank you for listening. Like we said, once more, patreon.com/agradepodcast for bonus content. And I guess we'll see you hopefully next week. Right?
Yeah.
So until next time, thanks again. Stay safe out there. Drink well, be well, and hope to see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.